With the current market conditions, I really do think that now is probably one of the best times to be looking at solid top tier projects that we know a lot about and also are legitimate utility based projects. I always say you cannot go wrong by investing into utility. The reason why I say that is because it helps you sleep at night. When you are investing into something like, for an example, XDC, that you know has utility, that has real world value tied to it, it gives you that confidence boost that, all right, listen, this thing, yeah, sure, we might be in a volatile, asset class where we are following Bitcoin and everything's kind of based around hype and, speculation currently. But we do know that at some point in time, this space will be fully regulated and utility is going to be the main driver. And that's when these projects are really going to show their real value. So again, when we think about that, yes, it is a vote of confidence. Yes, it allows you to invest with a peace of mind, if you will. And not every project will make it. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. But XDC is one of those special projects that has so many big connections, that has a lot of networking behind it, that I just don't see how XDC isn't around for the next 10 plus years. Now, when we are thinking about that, obviously, with the current market conditions, how is XDC looking? Because we definitely are selling off. In the last 7 days, we're down about almost 5%. In the last month, we're down about like 5.5%. Last day, again, we're still kind of seeing that sell off. But on the 1 year, we're still up over 100+%. Now, if we're looking at the price chart itself, we are in a very significant downtrend. I was hoping for us to maintain the previous highs, which were going back to May, and this was around like almost 8 cents. Now we lost that and we did flip it into resistance. As you guys can see us fighting it on the 3-day here. We just have a few candle body closes around that resistance level, and now we're starting to see that big rejection. Now, the biggest thing that I'm looking at here is this roughly, 6.5 to almost 7.5 cent level. I do think that this is going to be a crucial level to focus on when it comes to XDC, because even if we do dip down all the way to the lows here, if we're looking back in time recently, going back to roughly March, April, May of this year, we know buying around these levels have been pretty profitable. Now, why do I think that we will bottom around this level? Well, because number one, we have a ton of support here. There is a lot of support going all the way back here to December of 2024, all the way back here from March of this year, also from April of this year. And I just feel as if this is going to be a demand zone where we start to find a bottom, especially with RSI getting closer to that oversold area. I think that this is going to be a pretty good area to, average in on XDC and pick up a little bit more if we wanted to add more to our portfolio. And also for anyone that is late to XDC, well, this would be the perfect time to be starting to really kind of look into it and possibly take a strong position. But beyond that, talking about real world value, let's go and take a quick look at XDC from RWA.xyz. Now, for the most part, RWA value on chain for XDC really hasn't moved much. We're only up about 0.3% in the last 30 days. But stablecoin market cap, that is up almost 25%. And stablecoin holders up only about roughly 3%. But look at the 30-day transfer volume of RWAs, but also the stablecoin 30-day transfer volume as well. RWA transfer volume up 765%, $2.88 trillion or $1 million, sorry. Stablecoin 30-day transfer volume $1.5 million, up about almost 2,000%. Now, are these percentages a little bit skewed? Yeah, sure, because this value is just starting to get added on here. But the good news is that we are starting to see stablecoin transfer volume really picking up on some of these networks, as you guys can actually see over here. Now, most of this has come from Phantom Dollar and Stasis Euro. I don't think that this is up to date for September just yet, but I would love for us to get back to some of these levels back here where we were seeing $50+ million, $20+ million, and I'm sure that we will get there. In terms of market cap value on XDC, majority of this is coming from USDC. And it makes sense, especially with the recent announcements. I'm sure that by now you guys already know about that announcement, which is this one with USDC and CCTP v2 coming soon to the XDC network. This got announced on the 26th of August. But going back to the RWA space for XDC, there's not a ton of value tied to XDC just yet, but there is a crazy amount. There's 41 RWA assets tied back to XDC. And I'm sure that some of these values right now are still kind of awaiting a ton of value to get added to RWA.xyz. We also have to remember there's a lot of announcements that have just yet to hit XDC, like Vert, for an example, or like the Leaky situation, which again, I still have no idea what's happening with that. We got an update back in April, and outside of that, we haven't really heard too much about that, but I would love to see some value added to XDC from that. But beyond that, let's talk a little bit more about some RWAs, because it feels as if we're starting to see a shift happen. So we have over here from XDC Foundation, congratulations to cohort number 2 of the XDC RWA Accelerator, and welcome to XDC Network. And yes, this is with plug and play. This is a massive accelerator. This is incredible for the ecosystem. Now looking at this is 11 projects getting added to the XDC ecosystem, all based around RWAs and specific use cases. Like, for an example, 129 Knots, which is the world's first real-world asset origination to distribution platform. On top of that, Bricken, this is an enterprise-grade digital asset platform. Create, trade, and manage digital assets, tokenization made simple. They have over 82,000 plus followers. Compute Labs, 10.9K, financing AI powered by Solana. And then we also have DCENT Lab, which is a decentralized liquidity infrastructure on Web3. We also have DigiShares, which is building bridges between traditional finance and blockchain technology. We also have North Securities, or eNorth Securities. This is the most complete blockchain-based investment ecosystem, empowering real-world asset tokenized assets, bridging blockchain and traditional. Then we also have Raise Finance, which is a tokenization engine. Centera, which is a community sharing blockchain platform that follows principles of sharing economy powered by smart contracts. Unitas Labs, which is the yield generation layer for the Internet of Value, and then InvestBay and Talknar. I do not know too much about these, but the best part about all of this is, if we're looking at this is all based around tokenization initiatives and bridging TradFi with DeFi, or even just traditional assets with DeFi assets. So I love to see this. This is incredible to see. And again, this is like 11 projects that will be immediately added to the ecosystem, that will be really kind of building around the ecosystem as well. So I love to see these types of announcements, because again, Hedera has a ton of accelerators as well. And we witnessed a big shift in scenery around the ecosystem and just community engagement because of those accelerator programs, because it really does spark a huge initiative around ecosystem growth, community engagement and growth, but also just use of the network, demand of the network. So we love to see this. Now, also going back to this announcement, going back to this view here with the stablecoin growth and, even transfer volume, we also did see another big announcement that's going to add to this, which is Aeon. So Aeon is bringing real-world Web3 payments to life with XDC Network. XDC is now accepted by 20 million plus merchants via Aeon Pay, Shop, Dine, and Pay Offline, with decentralized power at Starbucks, McDonald's, and more. And again, a lot of this is based around utilizing just XDC, but I do think that we're going to start to see a lot of stablecoin initiatives as well, because of the announcements even with USDC, which, if we're going back to this list here, we already see that USDC is starting to grow significantly on XDC, which we love. I really do think that stablecoin growth and just use cases, they're going to start to really ignite in a big way now that Genius got passed back in the summer, and we're starting to get into the institutional age of crypto. And talking about that, the co-founder of XDC recently was on a podcast which was hosted by Red Asan. I hope that I'm saying that name correctly. This is Rebecca Dawson. And if we're looking into this, he did say something very interesting, and it was around stablecoins. Exciting times for stablecoins. The Genius Act passed in Parliament paves the way for a robust regulatory framework. Discover how XDC's low fees and speedy transactions are revolutionizing the market. Now, again, remember, this is the co-founder of XDC. Check it out.
One trend was very exciting was around Genius Act. So Genius Act has been passed in the parliament. with together there is another act which was around Anti-Surveillance of CBDC Act. If you combine both these acts, you will find there is a clear regulatory framework for stable coins. And during that time, Circle's IPO was out, and even Wall Street was like, curious what might be the response of these circles, because it's innovative products of a stable coin. But after Circle got listed with the New York Stock Exchange, everybody knows price jumped from $30 to $300 within no time. So stablecoin looks to be a trending topic within the New York community, and many large organizations they want to get into the stablecoins, uh, participation. And when we look at as XDC, we are the perfect layer one infrastructure for stablecoin. Might be like three reasons what I see from the institution side. One is about low transaction fee. It's very much required for a micro transaction. Second part is uh, it's a fastest. So our transaction time with XDC is just 2 seconds. So it's very required to, like, settle any transaction as early as possible. And third thing, ESG factor, which I was not very much aware, but when I started talking to the people, I realized that people look at, energy sustainability's part, and the basic infrastructures of XDC is designed in a way where we consume almost 99% less energy compared to proof of work based networks like Bitcoin.
So yeah, I mean, listen, when we think about stablecoins are revolutionizing almost everything from your typical payments to even asset classes getting disrupted by stablecoin initiatives. I really do think that, when we think about what's happening with stablecoins, it's very concerning to see a lot of people in crypto not realize the value that stablecoins really bring to the space. Because it goes back to even when Ripple announced RLUSD. Everyone thought, oh, well, you know what? That's it. Like RLUSD is going to replace XRP. When we think about stablecoins, stablecoins are the liquidity of this space. We witnessed this year the US saying, you know what? We want to utilize stablecoins, specifically US dollar backed stablecoins, to ensure that the US dollar remains the dominant currency in the world, the reserve currency of the world, but also in the digital age. And that comment alone really showed us exactly what stablecoins are becoming. A crucial piece to the global financial system, and projects like XDC that can handle transactions at scale, that can, provide that infrastructure layer for payments to move over it in a very, cheap and efficient way. These types of networks are going to see an immense amount of demand because, again, stablecoins are not slowing down. They're only becoming much bigger. And even when we think about tokenized RWAs, right? Like the RWA space currently speaking is about $30 billion. Now on public networks in the space, it's about $17.5 billion. Again, looking at stablecoins and looking at the monthly transfer volume, stablecoins are becoming a very big piece of not just crypto, but everyday transactions. This is the year where stablecoins became, over 1% of the global M2 supply. And that figure is only going to continue to go up, especially as more and more institutional players dive into stablecoins, even companies diving into stablecoins. But think about the public networks, right? Like if we're thinking about trillions on top of trillions of dollars being moved over stablecoins, and I know that we're not going to get there overnight, but every single day, the underlying networks in the space that those stablecoins are moving over, they are going to see a massive inflow of demand and use case value, which is also going to impact the underlying gas token, which is also going to make that underlying gas token extremely expensive because, again, the value tied to it is just going to continue to result in a network effect that rises the value over time, which is exactly what we saw with Bitcoin over time, right? Bitcoin didn't go from cents to $100,000 just because, someone was buying it. No, people were buying it, selling it, trading it. And all of that was just a retail network effect. Imagine what these networks can reach in terms of valuations off of institutional, enterprise, and even retail demand and adoption. we are in for an incredible ride and a journey. And again, a lot of these projects like XDC, you really need to look at them in a completely different way. I understand that everyone hates when the market's down. Remember that this market is mainly tied back to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So what happens to both of those? That's going to affect the space. But imagine a day where we no longer have to think like that, where we no longer have to, worry about Bitcoin and Ethereum. We only have to worry about what type of value is being moved over these networks, what type of utility do these networks have, and that's a future that we are headed into. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.